Hello and welcome back to another session of ITU interviews. Really excited to bring on Clay James, long snapper for the Hurricanes. What's going on, Clay?
Hey, what's going on? Thanks for having me on.
Yeah, I'm excited to hear more about your journey. There's a few things that really interest me. Just also being a specialist, what that's like, but also being a walk on. These are a couple things that gets overlooked quite a bit. So I'm really curious, and I know you went on scholarship too, but just coming on. So your journey's interesting. So for people that don't know, you've been the Hurricanes long snapper the last 3 seasons. I guess let's start with how did you get started? Doing that role, being a long snapper. Before and the whole thing. How did you get started with this job?
Yeah, so that's a really funny story. My mom is incredibly insightful. I got started playing football when I was about 10. I fell in love with it, and I always wanted to play college football. That was a goal of mine. I never expected to be at Miami. If I said that, I'd be lying to you. So my mom is insightful. She took a look at my dad, who's about 5'10", and she looked in the mirror. She's 5'4". She realized I wasn't gonna be able to be some 6'5", freakish defensive end. I was able to play Division I college football. So we started looking around, and she just did some research and she stumbled upon this guy by the name of Chris Rubio. And basically, for those that don't know, he's kind of like the long snapping guru. He basically, I don't even know the numbers, but it's something astronomical. He's had so many long snappers get scholarships or preferred walk-ons to schools. He's got a ton of NFL guys, so he's just kind of the go-to guy. And she was like, "Hey, we should go check this camp out. Maybe this is a way you can get to college football." And we went, and it was really cool. I learned a lot. I quickly realized that it's a skill that has literally no natural ability, and it's just if you're good, it's because you work really hard at it and you train hard and smart. So that fit me pretty well, and I started doing it. I played other positions up until my freshman year, and then I transferred high schools my sophomore year and just focused completely on long snapping because I realized obviously that was where I was going to be able to play college football if I had the chance. So that's kind of the backstory to that.
So around 10, then you got started in this. I'm thinking, I'm just assuming, were you quick to receive this? Was this something that you automatically grew to, or was it something that, you kind of mess with a little bit and then you progress with it as a young age?
Yeah, so I started. I actually didn't start snapping until the summer going into eighth grade. So between seventh and eighth grade, which obviously is still really early on. But so I kind of played with it, a bit in that time in middle school. I wasn't obviously as good nor as specialized as I got to be in high school. I played other positions. I just loved playing football. I loved competing, so I didn't really want to give that stuff up until I really had to. So yeah, I started then. I kind of messed around with it, and then I took it more seriously going into my sophomore year of high school. It was really great doing it in high school, just specializing in it because I could just work on drills and things all day. I didn't have to do the stuff that everybody else has to do. I got a lot better in that time period. So
Yeah. What were those early practice sessions like? High school wise, and maybe as you work on this thing, what were some of those like that you remember?
oh, they were tough, man. So many bad snaps. I couldn't figure out for a long time. I couldn't figure out that you have to pick the ball up and throw it back. I just would slide it on the ground, and that led to so much inconsistency. My mom was trying to tell me, for a long time because she was real studious about it. She really studied film and what other guys were doing. She was like, like you need to pick the ball up, and I was like, no, like no way. So I kept doing it like that, and then one day I did it, and I was like, wow, this is so much easier, like so much more accurate. So yeah, there was a couple tough sessions. Truth be told, I didn't really get to a point where I was really comfortable and like what I would consider, like quote unquote good at it until pretty recently. I'd say like probably my freshman year of college was really when I was like, okay, like I'm pretty good at this. My worst snaps now aren't like catastrophic to the play or anything. I'm real confident in what I can do. So it took a while, it took a lot. High school, it was a big period of growth in that aspect. So
I'm curious how you evaluate how things are going, snapping wise. Again, it seems to be a very technical type thing. I'm curious, essentially, you touched on your practice sessions that you got on it and you felt like you were starting to get, that freshman, things were improving there. Just how you kind of evaluate how things are going with that, your skill there.
Yeah, well, it's really interesting. It's a skill that's unlike any other in football because there's either good or there's bad, and you really don't want the bad. So there's a couple of ways you evaluate it. Mainly is just accuracy and speed. You always want the ball to be on the punter's hip so that it's easy for them to just catch, mold the ball, and punt it away. And then speed, you want the ball under like 0.72 seconds for a snap. And that's pretty much it. There's other things that go into it. There's running downfield, making tackles, field goals. You want to hit, there's like the punter's elbow. You want to hit the elbow and then have the laces out so that he doesn't have to spin the ball. Which me and Lou have a great relationship in that sense. But it's pretty much good or bad. It's real black and white.
Yeah, this is going to sound silly, but I'm just so interested in this. How good or how accurate are you in the sense, is there something you can do that obviously anybody that's picked up a football maybe have tried hiking at some point and done something, but again, just is there a distance or an accuracy thing that you can kind of tell people, maybe explain like how good you are at this, if that makes sense?
Yeah, it's pretty hard. It's so well, I guess the best way to describe it is, from the punter's mid thigh to like his nipples is really like the box, and then obviously inside his body frame is where you're trying to hit every single time. I've had very few in my career at Miami that weren't in that area. I can name them off the top of my head. You always remember the bad ones so much, not as the good ones. But yeah, it's hard to describe exactly what is good or bad, but it's just there's this box that you're trying to hit every time, and I try. Obviously, the vast majority in my career have been in that. So,
and Clay, and I obviously don't know you real well, but seeing just your either social media posts, you touched on it earlier here, your love for the game, and also just the position you play. It seems like you have this. This greater love for the game to do what you do, right? Like to put in all the work for what you do. It's different than the other roles on a football team. Am I wrong in that? Is there something that just this game that you really have a passion for in general?
no, but second to my mom, it's definitely my one of my biggest loves in my life. Quite literally, I eat, sleep, and breathe football. Little known fact, I actually am planning on coaching after my career. So pretty much all I do every day is just sit around and watch football, study film. I'm making a little playbook for myself. So yeah, I think it's much bigger for me than just the long snapping position. It was kind of just as a medium for me to get on a Division I football team, and it's it's a skill that is very controllable in the sense of, like I said, like you're only as good as how hard you work at it, and I'm very blessed to have that quality, and I've been able to get really good at it just from practicing over and over. And yeah, I love the game. I love my teammates. I love the locker room, just the whole dynamic, the workouts, everything that goes into the sport of football is something I love. I'm uber competitive, so it's a great outlet for that.
What's the playbook look like? When do you start kind of building that? When do you decide coaching at some point would be for you, or an option for that you'd like to get into?
Yeah, so I had a lot of great men, great coaches that have inspired me. But it's hard to say when I really decided. I'd say probably at 18 or 19, probably my first year of college. I got down to Miami. and was like, wow, like I'm just head over heels for the sport and everything that comes with it. And obviously, I'm not big enough to play in the NFL. That's not really a realistic goal for me, unfortunately. But unfortunately, unfortunate in the sense that it's leading me to a coaching career, which I'm really thankful for. But yeah, so probably early on, 18 or 19, and then from there, it's just grown. I pick up a lot of little things, and I'm trying to study and network as much as I can while I'm here. Try to use it as a medium, for the next step.
So, Coco, for people that aren't aware, that program always wins. Essentially, you appear in 2 state championships, win one. What was that experience like? And at that time, I know you touched on snapping. Were you only doing snapping at that time? Later in high school, were you playing other positions? And then also, if you could just tell me about your recruiting. What was your recruiting experience like?
Yeah, so I'll start with Coco. Coco's a great place. I love this area so much. The high school is really interesting, and the football team is really funny because we only dress like 30 players every year. And it's really weird because, there's all the teams that we play would be, these real, high profile teams. Like we went and played IMG, we went to, Nevada, we played Bishop Gorman. We went to all these places. We played all these, high school teams that just had so many more facilities, and just all these things in us. And it's just this funny little town that just, I don't know, it just comes together every year. We get a couple good players, and we're really good at what we do, and we just win. Like it's kind of I'd compare it to almost like like a little high school, dynasty type thing. Like my high school head coach had this real specific routine and schedule every year that we followed, and it just worked. I mean, we won a lot. Like you said, my time in high school, we went to state twice. They've been back twice since I left. I actually went and watched it the other day. They played at Inter Miami. It was great to watch. They lost, unfortunately, but I don't know, something about it. They just always win. It's really interesting. I had such a good time there. It's actually the reason I came to Cocoa is because they would allow me to specialize in just long snap, which just kind of tells you the forward thinking of my high school coach, where he was at with specialists and also just the whole team. And then, yeah, recruiting was a really interesting thing. Recruiting for a long snappers is a lot different than a lot of other positions in the sense that you kind of reach out more than the coach reaches out to you. There's only a couple guys. There's probably 3 every year in a class, any given class, that really like get recruited themselves, by a college. And then other than that, you kind of have to, propel yourself and put yourself in front of coaches and build a network. Obviously, you have to be good. You have to have that ability, but I can't overstate the importance of the networking and building relationships, and then just finding a fit. I think the coach that recruited me to Miami, Todd Hartley, is one of my biggest inspirations. He's a great man, great leader, great football coach. And truthfully, he's one of the main reasons I came to Miami was to play for him, because he's just absolute man of integrity, and his passion for the game, I think, is pretty unparalleled. So basically just, networking, building that relationship, and realizing, pretty early on when I met him that me and him was going to be a great fit. So.
You touched on Bishop Gorman. What do you remember about that game in high school? They had obviously Tate Martell senior year, Brevin Jordan,
Yeah.
Bubba Bolden for people, and plenty of names there. What do you remember about that game? Obviously, it didn't go well for you guys, but
no.
What do you remember?
I'll tell you what, that was actually a pretty insane experience. That was as close to college football. I didn't realize that at the time, but that's as close to college football as it gets in high school. It was insane. We went out there. I realized pretty early on, because the day before the game, they were like showing us like their facilities, kind of giving us a little tour, like, oh, like little guys, look at what we got. This is so cool. And I was like, oh no. So I was like, this isn't good that they're doing this. This is what they think of us. But I tell you what, we came out, we were actually only down by 2 going into halftime. It was 12-14, I believe. And they get the ball back late in the first half, and Tate rolls out, man, and throws just this 60-yard bomb to Brevin in the back of the end zone. Hail Mary. They score. The whole place erupts. And from there, it just went downhill real fast. It was actually really funny because all of my my college teammates now really went pretty crazy that game. Tate had a great game. Brevin caught the Hail Mary. And then Bubba actually, I don't know how many tackles he had. He was everywhere. And then he ended up returning a fumble for a touchdown late in the game. And they ended up running away with it. The first half was pretty competitive, and then I think that Hail Mary kind of took the wind out of our sails because, like I said, we're a real small team, real together. But you can only take so much when you're playing a team like that. It's so overpowered, I would say.
And you got to reunite with those guys. I was curious about Tate. Look, went through some things and whatnot, but are you surprised it didn't work out maybe for him? And then also, I was curious. So in 2019, you guys are on the same team together. Did people feel like you guys looked alike? I mean, at times, at that time, did you ever get that at times?
Yeah, I did. I got a lot of Kirkland Tate Martells. But I did. It's actually really funny. When he first committed, I was at a baseball game, and somebody came up to me and they're like, "Oh, Tate, like, take a picture of me, man. Like, we signed this, and that." And my friends were like, yo, like, this isn't Tate. Like, this is Clay James. Like, he plays football too. And they're like, oh, you're not Tate, man. Screw you. They're cussing me out. I was like, whoa. Like, it's not my fault I'm not Tate. Like, sorry. I'm sure you'll meet him eventually. But no, in terms of it working out or not, I don't know. I guess I would say I'm surprised because he's a really, really hard worker. I truly, I can't tell you how good of a teammate he is. I think he gets a bad rap for QB1. I think they kind of portrayed him a certain way that, in all like honesty, really is not. It didn't work out on the field, but I know he has a lot of support from all the guys in that locker room because he was just a great teammate that whole year through a really tough year and a tough time in his life. So.
Let's keep going on more of your teammates. You touched on Lou. You guys still roommates?
Yeah, he's the man. He's my best friend down here.
First impressions of Lou. Do you remember when you first met him?
Yeah, it was real funny. He has this real thick accent. It's actually gotten a little better now because he's realized he has to like slow down how he talks because it's so deep. Like he's got a real deep voice. And it's real thick, his accent. First impression, I don't really remember exactly the first impression. I guess probably fall camp of 2019. We got to know each other really well. It was his first fall camp and my first fall camp that I was really, in a role of actually playing and had that pressure on me. So we got real tight at that time. He's a great dude. I can't tell you how great of a dude he is. Real humble, a lot quieter than people think, just based on, all the tattoos and being huge and whatnot. He's got this kind of funny persona amongst fans, but he's real quiet, real humble. Doesn't take life too serious. He's just a great dude. So.
Your guys' work, I mean, I remember you guys work out quite a bit off-season stuff, right? I mean, obviously with just the roles that you guys have, is that something you guys do quite a bit? You're looking forward to kind of getting into that, your routine as you guys kind of work together? Like you said, you've been working with them for a while now.
Yeah, no, I love it. So this is the last year for both of us. I have another year of eligibility, but I'll probably, just forego and start coaching because I'm so passionate about that. But yeah, it's actually one of my favorite times of the year. I mean, well, I shouldn't say that because I love the fall. I love the whole year because the whole grind of all of it. I can't lie to you, but it's a really good time of the year. Me and him get a lot of work together. Obviously, it's a workout time, so we get really fit, which is great. But yeah, so off season we usually go 3 or 4 times a week. We got to do punts and holds, and we just work on that timing. It's something that we're real close now, especially on the field. We have a great relationship, but it's one of those things you can always get better. There's a lot of little things that we just fine tune week by week and kind of year by year, and results have spoken themselves. So
I was curious if you have any good memories or moments or stories of opponents. The NCAA rule, defensive players not able to line up within shoulder length. They got to wait a second. I don't know if I've seen that called very often. I'm curious about that, what it's like, because obviously you're snapping the ball, but there's these other things that go into your role when you're out there. Do you have any moments or things like that stand out to you with opponents, either things they've said to you or just kind of always either rushing you too soon, anything like that stands out over this time that you've had so far at UM?
Nothing too crazy. Skalski from Clemson talked a lot. He was pretty friendly though. He wasn't really mean with it. He was just he was real nice about the tattoos that me and Lou have. He's like, man, y'all are the cool specialists. People wish our specialists were tatted like you guys. Like, well, I'm trying to snap. I was trying to focus and listen. Yeah, I don't have anything too crazy. I think Pitt in 2020 absolutely lit me up. They lined up over me and just decleated me, but they called a penalty on that. Nothing too crazy. The big boys up on field goal, they like to chirp at me a little bit. Tell me I'm going to mess up the snap or whatever. Tell me they're coming for me. But I'm like, man, you can't hit me. So what are you going to do? Nothing too crazy. Just the normal trash talk. A lot of nice guys, though. Most of them pretty friendly.
Can you explain? I know you do short snapping, too, and we haven't really touched much on that. But I'll get into that a little bit. But I was curious if you could kind of explain your role. I mean, everyone knows you snap the ball.
Yep.
For people that watch the games on TV, you see the ball in the air. We don't see you after the play, after the snap. Can you explain maybe your role after you snap the ball, and kind of what you're doing most punts in coverage situations?
Yeah, sure. So, I walk out there, we get the call. I look at the line because I like to help with the checks. I don't necessarily have to do that, but it's just something I like to do because, it's a lot for guys sometimes. And I'm down there kind of on the line, so it's easier for me to see. So, I go out, I look, I see what they're lined up in. We get the cadence, we get the call. I get down, snap the ball in the collapse, and then essentially I have a pretty easy job. I just run downfield and try to tackle the returner. I usually just nose them up. It gets a little more difficult when they put people on me to actually block me. Usually it's like some DB who's just doing his little DB stance in front of me, and I'm just like, oh god, this is going to be a tough one. So I got to do I practice moves, some like little rips and swims and stuff. It's funny. It's a good time, but it's nothing too crazy. I'm very rarely in protection. I only get protection if we're backed up or if we get like a very specific look, which isn't too crazy. It's something I practice a lot. That's more of an NFL thing because the NFL guys, they protect and then run downfield and try to get a tackle. But for us, it's a lot simpler. I usually just snap the ball as best to my ability and then run downfield and try to make a tackle. And then field goal is pretty easy as well. I just, wait for the kid and snap the ball and then I lean one way. I got a pretty good feel for it. I don't really predetermine it, but if there's, a pretty big dude in 1A gap, I lean that way and just try to get a piece of him because I'm obviously not huge, but any little bit helps.
So I obviously did some research. I didn't do enough to before this question. Do you have a tackle, recorded tackle?
Yeah, what's funny? I have 3 career tackles, and one of them is against Clemson, and one of them is against Alabama, which is hilarious. I was like, man, like these big names, I get tackles, and then I got one against Louisville my first year in 2019. So I average literally one a year.
There you go. Any one of those 3 that stands out, or how'd you get the Alabama and Clemson ones in particular, or even the first one?
Clemson was really the best. I think I saved a bit of a big return because I was actually the last guy on the sideline. If you look, like our whole team was to the field, which is not what you want. You want, a nice even V, like a net. And I actually ended up being the only guy on that side of the field. And I tackled him, and I didn't realize how big the deal it was. And I was like, oh, wow, like that was going to be a huge return. And then Alabama wasn't as crazy. I just ran downfield. There were guys to my left, and they kind of forced him to cut back into me, and I got in on it. To be honest with you, I don't know how the linebackers tackle guys, all game, because both the tackles I've got, I ran off the field, man, was just something. I was just like, man, like I am hurting, man. Like, I don't know how y'all tackle these big dudes all game. Like, it's insane what you guys do. So yeah.
Or even the plays that they don't make, right? Like,
yeah, like they get beat up, man. I don't get it. It's crazy. I got a lot of respect for it.
I assume you feel that a lot of the positions, right? Like you're looking at how these guys go navigate through their roles. Touch on short snapping. The kickers, obviously, with Jose getting the Groza, that had to been you had to feel extra, a part of that for sure. And then also your impressions of Andreas as he, his first year with Andy there, just how he did, and maybe your thoughts on him moving forward too.
Yeah, so Jose's year was incredible. Like I said, me and Lou have a real good. It's really on the snapper and the holder to get laces on a field goal snap. It's a bit of a joint effort. In the NFL, it's more on the long snapper, but in college, it's a team effort, which me and Lou take a lot of pride in. We always want to get the laces out, just make it as easy for the kickers as possible.
Has Lou always been the holder since he's been here?
The last 2 years. My first year we had a different holder. Lou kind of rotated that year, and then now he's full time. He's excellent. He's got real soft hands. He's got a good feel for it. But yeah, Jose's year was special. I remember at Louisville when we lined up at that 57-yarder, I was like, man, this might be your Groza moment, bro, because I'm telling you, even that camp leading in, like the dude didn't miss. Like I was shocked. Like I think he missed like 3 kicks all of camp. I was like, wow, like I've just never seen a dude this good at kicking the football. So that we hit that field goal, and I was like, wow, Jose, that might be the moment. Like we might get something special going here if we just have a good year. So that was really special. He's elite. He came to work every day, like really a pro. Like I don't think I've ever been around a dude who's as much as a professional athlete as him. And then Andy's great. Andy's a little carbon copy of Jose, which is hilarious because they're built a little different. Andy's like kind of the cinnamon applejack looking dude, a real tall, skinny dude. And Jose's kind of short and stocky, but now they're the exact same. They got the same mentality. They got that I'm going to make every kick kind of mentality. Andy came in and has just, worked. He's been great to work with. He's real open and honest. Me, him, and Lou have a real, just, no ego, open, transparent relationship. We always take responsibility for, if one of us messes up, like, it's on us. We're not blaming somebody else. Yeah, he's been great. He comes to work every day, kind of just does what he has to do, and he's real locked in. I think he's going to be a great kicker. He had a great first year, and I think he's going to build on it. I think that is probably the floor for him. I think it only gets better from here.
So you come to Miami, preferred walk on, obviously optimistic about getting that scholarship. You sit behind Jordan that first year in a role. Do you have a good moment or tell me the moment that you found out that you were going to get a scholarship? What was that like for you?
Oh man, that was incredible. It was just, years and years of work. First person I called was my mom. I was like, Mom, like we did it. Cause I couldn't have done it without her. She was kind of the brain behind really my whole football career, to be honest, because it was her being pretty insightful and doing all the work, the homework to realize that I could even be a snapper. So she was my first call. That first year was actually, it was hard sitting behind somebody. I'm not gonna lie, you always want to be the guy playing, but looking back, I really needed it. Jordan was a great, great mentor. He kind of grew me to be the guy. He saw me from the first day and knew I was, had a little bit of potential. And I can't, tell you how much I appreciate him. I got so much better just because of him my freshman year. Um, yeah, it was tough being a walk on. But I was very blessed. I wasn't a walk on for very long. I only was that first fall, and I was really only there just to learn. I knew I wasn't going to play unless something catastrophic happened. So I just came in, tried to be as quiet as I could, soak up as much as I could. I was very blessed because Coach Hartley, like I said, is kind of a man of his word, and he said, if you come in this fall and you handle business and you show me what you've always shown me, that you can be a great snapper and handle the pressure that I put on you and all kinds of stuff like that, that you'll be the guy. So, and that fall I came in and did my thing. I didn't really have any bad snaps that fall in practice. He rotated me in a lot, which I was again so thankful for. I can't tell you how thankful I am. And yeah, that bowl season came around, the end of the season, and he was like, "Hey man, like like you earned it. Here you go. Here's the paper. Let's sign it. Let's get it going." I was actually the last scholarship that Coach Rick signed, which I think is so cool. I'll probably remember that for the rest of my life, because I'm so thankful for him and Coach Hartley for setting it up for me.
Yeah, I mean that's awesome. Obviously, it's every walk-on's dream. Someone like
Yeah,
yourself that put in all that work. So congratulations on that.
thank you.
And NIL stuff.
Yeah,
It's all around college football now. I think and you've got something right.
yeah.
Yeah, can you talk about it?
Yeah, so we have the top team thing, which is great, and then personally, I have this I have this partnership with Big Daddy Yachts, which is a great partnership. It's really funny. They're basically a yacht company, and they do charters and take people out. My only responsibility really is just help promote their business, and I get occasional charters, take the homies out, just have a good time on a boat. So,
Yeah, how'd that pop up for you? And pretty
well,
exciting, right? Like I assume NIL
yeah,
stuff. Maybe you're not thinking that you're going to be a part of it, right?
no, certainly not, certainly not. It's real cool. So, Small World, the owner of the boat, his son is a long snapper. He played at a school, I believe, North Carolina A&T, smaller school, but he's a great snapper. And he actually, his dream was to play at Miami. So I got to know him really well through like the long snapping camp circuit, and then I also saw him at camp a couple times, and we just kind of kept a close relationship. And long story short, his dad has this boat, and they're like, okay, well, we want to start doing charters now. We're going to sign a couple athletes. And he's like, you're the only athlete at Miami that I know. Do you want to, be a part of this? Bring some of the friends that you have on, just have a good time. And I was like, yeah, I mean, that sounds great. So yeah, it's kind of just a small world thing. He's a fellow long snapper, and he's now the CEO of the business. That's what he's going to do now that he's done snapping. So it's really, really cool and really small world thing.
Yeah, that's awesome. Hopefully more to come for you
Yeah,
there. Everybody
fingers
check that
crossed.
out.
Fingers
There you
crossed.
go. There you go. Hey, Coach Cristobal,
Yeah.
gets hired. You're, and the process is still beginning and it's still in the process for you and getting to know Coach. What was your impressions of Coach and as he adjusts the team and as you kind of, learn more about him, your kind of impressions of him early on, or just a couple months here?
Yeah, I mean, first impression, I can tell you, he's got a presence about him. Like when he walks in a room, it's this guy's here. Like he's ready to work. Our first meeting together, I cannot tell you, I've never been more impressed with an individual. I think he's got a very, very clear, very concise plan of where we're taking this program, what we're going to do. And the dude is just all work. Like, I think you said it a couple times, and I don't think it's talk. From what I've seen, it's kind of walks the walk with that. He just gets up, works, he lives, eats, breathes football. And yeah, he's very well spoken. Obviously, I think he's going to be a great leader. And I can't describe, like I've never seen a presence like what he brings to a room. It's very unique, and I think it's going to be a really good thing. So
Yeah, I'm sure it's hard to describe too, like you're saying, but Yeah. So, change there. You touched on Andy kind of moving forward with his career, his trajectory. You feel like he's going to keep going. Are there guys, one or two guys that breakout players at other positions, not specialists, that you're looking at like, hey, you're watching everything that's going on. Are your breakout guys that you think like, man, I think this guy can really either step up because guys have left or just that they did good in their role and they're just continue to get better? Or you're just curious to see how they do this in 2022?
Yeah, a couple of guys. It's like off the top of my head, I think Keyshawn Smith. He had a great year last year, but that dude's a baller. Some of the catches he makes in practice are just insane. I like to sit and watch. And yeah, he's pretty insane. I think he's going to have a great season. He's got kind of got that home run speed, but then also has just like a huge catching radius, and it just kind of catches everything that's thrown to him. So I look to him to have a big year. Honestly, that whole receiver room, the three young dudes are incredible. They're going to be a menace, I think, for teams in the future. And then I don't know, trying to think. I think Elijah Roberts, young guy, defensive lineman, comes to my head. I think he's going to have a great season. He's real smart, huge, super athletic. I think he'll be great. And then I'd say Elijah Arroyo as well. I think you saw flashes of him next year. I don't know how much 12 personnel we're going to use with this. I don't even know what scheme we're running on offense.
Sure.
No idea. But I think him and Will be a pretty dynamic duo if they're able to incorporate him. So.
Yeah, and certainly other guys as well. Well, I know you, like you said, you're interested in this off season. You're engulfed in that. Spring ball will be just around the corner. You guys will learn your coaches, the whole thing. So the whole process is kind of going on here. Before I let you go, you touched on coaching, Clay.
Yeah.
What does it look like for you? What would you like to do? And I ask because, there's obviously specialist camps, long snapping stuff, or would you see yourself hopefully being in like a special teams role or high school, college? But what are you kind of thinking, or what are you hoping for with your coaching career as you move forward with that?
Ideally, I mean, I want to be either Power 5 or NFL offensive coordinator. I'm currently teaching myself like the ins and outs of the offensive game. I love to either coach running backs, tight ends, quarterbacks, receivers, something like that. I don't really know enough about the line, I don't think I ever will. I don't think I'll ever be really involved in that. But that's the ultimate goal. Early on, I would love, special teams. I obviously know really, really well. Kind of where home base is for me. It's not as much of a reach as offense, but in an ideal world, that's where I end up as an offensive coordinator. I obviously would take a special teams role and do it to the best of my ability because it's really a detail-oriented job, and I think I'd really do well in that. But so I have a passion definitely for scoring points. I think that's what I want to do. So, I'm going to try my best to make that happen. Obviously, it's so up in the air. I don't have any really idea where I'll be this time next year, but I just think, I feel ready. It's pretty much all I do every day. Like I said, I kid you not, I do my football playing responsibilities. I come home, I eat, and then I just get into watch a film or learning something about the game. And then, I have, I socialize kind of later in the evening, but, middle of the day, you can find me watching film or working on a playbook that I'm making. So I'm really excited. I cannot wait for that. Like I'm so passionate about it. So.
Yeah, no, that's great. And obviously that's half the battle, just that passion. And obviously to get where you've gotten, you've had that passion for that. So yeah, soak in all that information. I know you got your degree, your undergraduate degree a couple of years, I guess 2020 now. So you've been working on the grad school stuff. So I'm sure you feel about ready to wrap up college. Hopefully this time next year, you've got the Patrick Manley Award. You're moving on and things like that. So Clay, man, I appreciate it. I know your time's valuable, so I appreciate you taking the time to tell your story. So thanks for stopping by, and definitely enjoy the off season and stay in that playbook, man.
This is great. Thanks for having me on. I'm fired up to be here. Can't thank you enough for the time. So.